it's unconditional love that gets you through most things, and
Yep.
you know, her unconditional love for me, albeit blinded sometimes, is
Yep.
why I'm sitting here today doing this.
It's crazy how much the saying of behind every good man is a greater woman. Or
It's so true.
It's so true.
It
It's
is.
so true.
It is. Ask any bloke.
Oh, mate.
If they're fair dinkum about themselves,
Yeah.
I'll say that they're here. They are where they are because of their wife.
Yeah, or whether it be
Or
wife
their partner.
or a mother.
Or partners.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, mums. Yeah.
So you know, you made your debut, and you know, as you said, you know, you're a wild guy. You know, you're a very aggressive player. You know, today, if you were the same guy today, it would be a very different situation. Like, you know, there would be, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Is that something that you've kind of you miss in the game, that because you were such a enforcer of the game, you were so aggressive, you know, that's been kind of, for better or worse, you know, everyone's got their own opinion, but do you think it's a positive or a negative that the game has become less raw and aggressive and more, you know, fast and skillful? I guess you could probably
I made my career on the shoulder charge,
Yep.
and I made my career on trying to look for fights on the field.
Yeah.
If most rugby league players will tell you that, as long as it's not a king hit, that if you're involved in a fight on the field, it lasts no longer than 10 seconds.
No one ever usually hits anyone.
Well, they can't.
You know, it's,
but to say there's no, look at Paul Gallen and Nate Miles.
Yep.
Perfect example of Origin, one-on-one. They were looking at each other in the face.
Yep.
But because we had a coward punch bashing the week before, or even a killing, you know, which is a tragedy in its own, you can't kind of blame rugby league on that.
Oh, mate.
You know, look,
Yep.
I am glad, because of what we spoke about before, the size of the athletes these days.
Yep.
I'm glad the shoulder charge has been removed from the game, because I really don't think we need it.
Just not worth it. It's not worth the hassle, kind of thing.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think so. I think we've come.
Yep.
You know, Alex McKinnon, the tackle on him. Every time one of my sons gets lifted now, I think of that.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, look, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, if you're an NRL official.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to sanitise the game, the dinosaurs like me will go, come on, man.
Yeah.
What made you now, them years ago,
Yep.
you're eroding from the fabric.
Yep.
But as a progressive entity, they've got to try and say to these kids who are coming into the game, you know
Yep.
what, we're going to protect you 100% with our total compassion.
Yep.
We're going to make sure that every kid who comes into our game is going to be safe, because we're stamping out this and
Yep.
we're stamping out that. And as a dad, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And I'm between.
Yeah.
betwixt.
It's so hard.
I love seeing old footage
Yep.
of Mark Bugden and Jeff Bowden, or Mark Bowden and Mark Broadhurst, Jeff Bowden from the Newtown Jets days. I love seeing Origin. You know, the first thing people do around Origin time is go to Origin fights.
Yep.
But
See, I think I can cop getting rid of the shoulder charge because it's so dangerous. Because I feel like shoulder charges are more dangerous than a fight. Fights are never like.
no, well, everyone grabs you. Everyone
Yeah.
comes in and grabs.
Yeah, and
Like if you throw a few punches, the crowd get. Tell me that you never got out of your feet when you see someone. Everyone just jumps out of their seat.
Everyone does. It's in our blood.
Yeah,
It's
but
in our
I think
blood.
with concussion, the way it's gone, the NFL, we're all on a bit of a tender hook at the moment.
Yeah,
and,
that's very
and I
true.
think to eradicate the shoulder charge from the game was, while it was bought with a lot of unnecessary fanfare from the negative, I think it's been a positive for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess long term, 10 years' time, guys like us, the younger generation won't have even won't have been a part of them, so they won't even think about it. They won't even be talking about it.
Well,
So it's
I see spears. When I first played, you could spear tackle someone. Well, you pick him up and put his head in the ground, and everyone clap you.
yeah,
You know, it's just
That's
it
crazy.
beggars belief, doesn't it? Really?
yeah.
So
Whereas like now, we're sitting here going, yeah, it's
now
it's weird.
you can't. You know, it's. I see someone like Alex McKinnon's incident, and
Yep.
it makes you sad. But you know, we talked about the rugby league community before, how they get behind their own. Well, that's a perfect example of how not just the community, but the fans, everyone from Newcastle fans to people who live in WA or live overseas.
Well, the whole country, like essentially, there weren't many people
No,
that
they
I knew of that.
Didn't know about what happened.
and weren't sympathetic to what had happened. So with your NRL career, what was the what was the hardest thing in your NRL career? You know, like you'd endured a lot as a kid, as in, you know, not having much, but you had, you know, a very good family. But in your NRL career, what was the hardest thing staying out of trouble off field? Was the hardest thing the training? Was the hardest thing, you know, what was the kind of hardest thing?
I think fitness training was hardest.
Oh, mate.
You know, I'm fitter now, I think, than I was when I played footy, because I haven't got someone barking orders at me. Now I can train every day on my own and do it without being told to do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I had a bit of a problem with authority. Not at school. Me and Gus Gould clashed a few times as head coach, because I was used to having free reign as under Ron Willie in '88 and '89 when Ron was at the club. He was old school, and he'd say, "Mountain, you've got to realise," I was 19, 20 years of age, and he says, "I want you to be the bloke in our defensive line that everyone's scared to run at."
Yep.
And some games I'd make 8 tackles, you know, because I would, if they had come on my side of the field, which was usually the left, or was it right? Johnny Cartwright was left, I was right. So they come on my side of the field, I'd make sure that I'd punish them outside of the law, you know, with roughing them up, you know, stuff now you'd never get away with. I spent 34 weeks on the sideline for suspensions, which, you know, I think I played 182 first grade games. I could have played over 200, and
far out.
I could have represented more, and all that kind of stuff that a lot of people might think that I regret, but it's part of me.
Yeah. I guess you wouldn't have. You maybe wouldn't have made the side if you didn't have that aggression.
Well, in '91, and I made Origin in '89 with Jack Gibson, who was reluctant to pick me because of my style of play.
Oh, okay.
But I finally made my debut at 19 in '89 and got beat 36-6 and had a shocking game. You know, I didn't think I'd ever play again.
Yeah.
And then in 1990, we made the grand final. Got beat by Canberra. But extra consolation after the loss was the fact that four of us from Penrith made the Kangaroo Tour.
Oh, okay.
Which was a sensational experience. 3 months abroad with blokes that you've been watching from afar. You're now watching them.
Yeah.
On your bus every day. You know,
crazy.
Lazarus and all the Broncos players, the Canberra players, the Raiders players who we were in awe of. And like we come back from that better for the fact that we'd kind of been, Penrith is a satellite city, and back then it wasn't, there was only 2 games on a week, so you didn't really know much about your opponents.
Oh, okay.
You know, every game gets
That's
televised.
very true.
Now.
Yeah, it's
so
very true.
unless you're a TV game, which wasn't every week, you'd say, who's this bloke? Who's this Bradley Clyde kid?
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
You know,
that's crazy.
18. Like, come on, man. And you see a lot of blokes on tour, and then, you know, we got back from that tour and basically we're on top of our game, the 4 of us, Cartwright, Alexander, Fittler and me.
Yep.
We went through all our trial games and we were going great, and then we got to the big one again and we won it, and that was kind of 2 or 3 or 4 years, the culmination of all our local juniors together, and Phil Gould was the missing ingredient to guide us. He was only, I think, 32 at the time when we won the comp.
Oh, wow. That's a young coach.
Yeah, well, 28 when the Dogs won it 4 years before that, in 88.
Far out.
Yeah, he's a freak.
That's
he's a freak.
Crazy. This generation doesn't really remember that, you know. Like, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know he was a 32-year-old coach winning premierships. So 28 is...
He was the youngest ever coach. He was the youngest ever first-grade captain at 21 for Penrith.
Wow.
So he's a man beyond his years, Gus. As you can hear in his commentary, and football mind-wise, he kind of surpasses all that I've ever had.
Yep. And what would you say, when you think back to footy, what would you say is the craziest memory? Like, what is something that you look back and you go, that's old school footy, you know, because you would have been a part of that, you know. I guess the guys that were old when you were playing would have said, "Oh no, my footy is old school." But, you know, compared to the generation today, what is something that stands out?
A couple
old
of things,
school
I suppose. In '88, we scored a try against I think it was Bulldogs. We were throwing balls over our heads, and it was in the mud. Like, for a start, you don't play in mud these days.
Yep.
You know, everything's
beautiful.
Yeah, everything's pristine.
Yep.
We scored the try of the year. It was a TV game. I remember that being one of the vivid memories of my career. But also, in '89, we played against South, who were on a big run. They were undefeated, and we played them about round 8. And I was in the second row with John Cartwright. Across from us was Les Davidson and David Boyle. They had the toughest pack in the comp.
Yep.
And Peter Kelly was our front row. When Ron Willie came over from wherever he came, I think he was in retirement. When he came to Penrith, he brought Peter Kelly, Chris Mortimer, Graham Bradley, and Neil Baker with him. 4 experienced players to add to the mixture of all these young juniors, and all of a sudden you've got a potent cocktail.
Yep.
We played South at SFS, and I'm watching Les Davidson in the first scrum. I knew he was going to throw a punch at one of us.
Yep.
Bang, he's thrown the punch. He's missed me by a bee's dick and hit Peter Kelly and split him like a sieve right across the top of the eye. Like, man, I've never seen a cut like it in the first.
So, was there any reason, niggle before it, or just let's do it?
Let's do it. The referee broke up the scrum because we were pushing and shoving. And Les Davidson was the scariest cat in the. He was the man.
He was the big
bad
guy.
Like, he's the best intimidator I've played against.
Yep.
You know, I was scared of running him.
Far out.
And I'll say this on the record. Question Bundy. Everyone had that player. Everyone had that one player you would never run at.
Yep.
I might have been that one player for someone.
Yep.
But Les Davidson was that for me. And then Peter Kelly looked up, went to the ref, and then looked at Les Davidson and said, "Is that all you got?" And we beat him by a big score. That because we all thought, "Fuck, Kel just got hit by the hardest man in the comp, and he didn't flinch. And he's on our team.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Let's dig in, boys."
Yeah.
And that was kind of that's apart from all the things that I'm glad we didn't have mobile phones back in the day.
Yeah.
Old school stuff. We'd go on tripaways and just the boys would be drunk as and doing antics and kangaroo tours. You represented Australia.
Yeah.
And we drank beer Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Played Sunday.
Far out.
Like it was
totally different.
Totally different because it wasn't professional.
Yeah.
Back then, in '95, when Super League came in and there was a divide in the tribes, and were forced to become professional, and we have since. And it's come a long way in the last 20 years, rugby league, and I think we're a lot better product now because of it. And the TV money that's thrown at us would emphasise that.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that, back in the day, there were things that you can get away with, but it's just not the case now. So I guess you've just got to change.
If I said to you as an 18-year-old, I'd say, Denon, okay, I'm going to make you an offer. You're 18 years of age. I'm going to give you a contract. I'm going to give you $4 million in your bank account. You can't touch it until you're 28. But if you have one or two, I'll give you one chance. But if you have the second indiscretion, a bad indiscretion in that 10 years, you get it taken away from you.
Oh shit!
What do you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd be sweet because I don't do anything. I'm just I'm so boring.
That's the thing, but it could be you could have a bad judgment with drink driving.
Yeah. You
could have an altercation at a club you didn't start.
It's so true.
But that's the thing. As a young bloke with young shoulders, you'd say, "I'll back myself." I think. And try and get $5 million.
Yep.
But now we know after 10 years of rugby league how hard $5 million is to get, or even $1 million is to get after a rugby league career. That you probably. Think about taking that offer in the first place. Yeah,
definitely.
Albeit you've got to cut a lot of partying out.
Oh, mate, it's the thing. Like the situations, even if they aren't actually that bad, the footy stereotype, makes it even worse. Like even though that's not making excuses for people, but there certainly is like the media does want footy players to do things wrong.
Well,
like
it sells.
They do want.
It sells. That's we as a code have got to remember that. Everyone pays big money to be part of our sport because our sport sells.
Yeah.
So, therefore, the players have got to be cooperative with that type of structure. Sure, we're going to muck up. And, Mitchell Pearce is the latest thing with Mitch Pearce is a perfect example of that. Like, was it the worst thing I've ever seen? No. But these days, you've got to be aware that these things here
they'll get you.
Are a loaded gun. They're a gun.
Yeah.
You might as well go to a party with blokes with everyone full of loaded guns in their pockets.
Yeah, it's true.
Because people with mobile phones can cause your life a lot more drama than guns can even.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm hoping.
So education. Look, education these days, I know Nigel Wagner does a lot with the players.
Yeah.
He's got a good team behind him with Frankie Pulatur. I know the NRL who are trying to educate kids on what to do in that circumstance.
Yeah.
You see, someone like Mitch Pearce has been in the system since he's 16, 17. Plus had a famous dad. pressure that's been on this kid has been immense.
Oh, mate.
For 10 years.
And the media hasn't given him a free ride.
No.
He's probably been
The whipping boy of Origin.
Mate.
And how he's put up with it, he needs a big tick on a big star, a big tick next to his name.
Yeah.
But what he needs now, in my point of view, is 12 months away from the game. Just to step back.
Clear his head.
Even just say to him, go to a sandwich shop or go to a building site and do 3 days a week. just to be a little reality to say, you know what? I want that back.
Yeah, it's true. It does help. It certainly does help.
Well, look at us. You always got to try. I think there's at 26 years of age, he's the youngest kid ever to reach 200 games. So he deserves yet another chance. He's had 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But let's look over the how he's been critiqued over his career. It's kind of been, there's been no year where he's been given a pat on the back for anything, except even when they win the comp was because Sonny Bill Williams was with him.
Yeah, yeah.
But saying that, Sonny Bill Williams had a really good calming influence on their club.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this latest indiscretion, I think this will be the wake up call finally he needs. Yeah. And I think everyone needs a wake up call once in their life. I certainly had a couple in mind, and you either say to yourself, well, do I want to play this game that the only thing I'm good at?
Yeah.
Or do I want to go and dig holes with labourers and go up at 3 and get home at 5 in the other?
When it happened, I was speaking to one of the other NRL players, and I said, off the bat, this is a blessing in disguise, because in my opinion, Mitchell Pearce is such a talented player that he
if it can happen to him, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah, but he can get, like, he doesn't need to focus 100% to still play good enough to play in NRL. When Mitchell Pearce is focusing 100%, he's one of the best halves in the game, and that's what I think this is going to do to him. I think this is going to be like, okay, wait a second, this isn't mine for the keeping. This can be taken away from me. I don't actually own the rights to playing this.
That's right. And that's exactly right. No, I think that's what we all hope is the happy ending resolve.
Yeah, because I mean, he has been, like, if there's a guy at Origin level consistently being smashed by the media, it's Pearce. Like it's like the thing that it frustrates me. I get it, sell papers, but Pearce doesn't choose himself. It's not like he chooses himself. He gets selected and he tries.
And selectors pick the forwards who have got a set of platform.
Yeah, so it's
I know. It's a bit of a combination of being the last name as well.
Yeah,
his dad was a famous player, and I know how hard it is for kids to try and follow in their parents' footsteps. It's freaking impossible.
Oh, mate!
And for him to play 200 games as quick as he has. And anyway. Let's hope it all comes to a good conclusion. Yeah,
I think next year, 2017, will be the year of Pearce.
Yep.
Said it here.
There you
go. So going forward to Origin footy for yourself. Origin back then as well was literally
catch and kill your own.
Oh, mate, it was one of the most alpha sports in the world. I mean, it was not only was it tough, it was endurance tough. It was physically tough. It was such a manly, masculine sport. Don't get me wrong, it still is.
Yep.
But I think now the fighting's gone. It's definitely put a cut.
I think interchange as well. There's the attrition game. The attrition value of rugby league is something I want back. I think it's something all fans want back. And I think cutting the interchange from 10 to 8 is a mark in the right direction. I'd like to see it go down to 5 or 6.
Wow.
And then just once you're on, you're on. Once you're off, that's it.
What does that? Union does that, don't they?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They have like 6 or 8 on the bench.
Yeah.
If you come on, you stay on.
Yeah.
But Origin for me, I think, and I think you've got a clip here that I've got to look at as well.
This clip, I mean, there is not a more iconic Origin clip. I know you're probably a humble bloke and you probably don't think that, but when it comes to Origin, even from my perspective, there is not a more iconic clip.
State against state.
Of 2 people that probably would be good mates off the field, but when it comes to being on the field for Origin, it was like murder. It was literally like murder.
I played in 91 and I was lucky enough to make it after my 89 debacle.
Yep.
And I thought I didn't get picked in 90 because I had a groin injury. Then 91 I was playing pretty good footy and made the City Origin. Then I was lucky enough to make State of Origin 1 up in Lang Park. We got beat 6-4. And I had a pretty quiet game. I didn't kind of flex my muscle, so to speak.
Yep.
And when they read the name out for the second team, I was there, and we went down to our medical when there was a couple of selectors there, and they said, "Mark, you got a minute?" and called me over, and I said, "Yeah." They said, "Game one, what happened?" I said, "Oh, I've got a suspended sentence hanging over my head. I'm worried about being suspended.
Okay.
I don't want to really flex my muscle because it's going to help. It's going to hurt Penrith again. It's my club." And one of them said, "Well, mate, this is this is a state of origin.
Yeah.
You know that you can't get sent off in state of origin. When's the last since 1980, which is 11 years? When's the last time you saw a sin bin or a send off?" And I said, "Well, there hasn't been any." They said, "Well."
There's your answer.
I said, "So is that? What do you mean?" We said, "No."
Green light.
What do you mean? Green light. So the morning of the game, I used to hate playing in rain.
Yep.
I always, because I couldn't wear steel studs, I used to wear rubber soles all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the day of the game, I just remembered I didn't give a shit about anything because I'd been given the green light on the home deck, SFS, we're down one. So I was kind of, before the game, I was in a jovial mood, knowing that anything that happened on the rugby league field, I'd have no due course of anything coming back to bite me on the arse.
Yeah, no guilt, no
repercussions.
Yep.
None.
You probably had you ever been given that
No.
before?
Iron Willie gave me the mandate of being the toughest on the field,
But not just
but
we
not,
want you
not
to.
basically single-handedly take him apart. So if you watch the game, this was right on. I've done a couple of things at half time. Steve Walters ran the ball up to me, and the siren went, and I went, "Oh well, okay." And he did like a voluntary tackle in front of me. I went, "Fuck it, Origin, man." Big rubber chop head to the back, rubber chop to the back of the head, as you do in Origin. And the next minute, it all broke out. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Wally Lewis running towards me, yelling out, "Geyer this, Geyer that," and the first thing I thought was, "Shit, he knows my name."
Oh, really?
Wally Lewis knows my name. Like, this is the king, man. This is,
So he's sitting there going, "Fuck
yeah. Oh, you should be in fucking jail." And I go, "What?" And then there's Ian Robertson's fighting behind me, and he backed me up, and Benny backed me up, and there's a couple others backed me up, and as the skirmish stopped and they got me and Wally together, David Manson said to Benny, "Mate, you've got to settle this bloke down." And I said, "Why? What about him?"
Yeah.
And Benny said, "Okay, Dave, MG, settle down." Fucking hit him.
No.
I said,
So he says, "Settle down."
yeah, I didn't know what to do. Here I am with Wally Lewis, the best player in the game, standing across from me, calling me a lunatic and an F-wit, and saying I should be in jail, and I'm calling him names back and saying, "Get back to your nursing home," and "Fuck this, fuck that." Going, wow, what's happened here?
So there was a conscious thought in your head of, "This is Wally Lewis. I've got so much respect for this man."
Like, got that everyone in their team. Like,
Yep.
I just had a fight with Andrew G and Peter, the late great Peter Jackson and Gary Coyne, but it was the king, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, and I didn't know. Like, I thought he's a pretty good fighter. I think he might take me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Down. Even I was towered over him.
Yeah.
And I had age on my side and youthful exuberance.
Was his front that was like, "Oh fuck"?
The fact that he out of all the team at 32 years of age, it was his last series.
Yep.
Out of all the players in his team, he was the one to take it to me. I had utmost respect for that.
Oh, really?
When he had a team full of monsters behind him, but I dismantled them individually.
Yep.
And he kind of he felt that, so he knew that he had to do something to stop the rot.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So he did, and anyway, we ended up behind. Wally Supper tried to make it 12-6 or something, 12-8, and it was about a minute to go, and we out the back line, and I think Mark McGaw dived in the corner.
Yep.
And this goal kick gets probably lost in the mire because of all the shit that went on around with me and Wally. But Michael O'Connor's kick from the sideline on his bad side with a leather ball in torrential rain,
Nailed it.
for me, is the best goal kick I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, really?
It curved beautifully. 14-12 are up. It goes back to the halfway. The siren goes.
Yep.
I run in the dressing room after the game, and we're all hugging and kissing, and my dad's there, and we're having a beer together. And so I just sit down and reflect. I say, I can't wait for the decider now in Queensland. How good is this going to be?
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden this media throng burst through these double doors at the SFS, and they come straight towards me. And I said to Dad, I think I've got man of the match here.
Oh, I think I've got.
I said, who have I got to thank? It's King G. Is it? Who is it? Recious? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I jumped up and I got man of the match. And Bill Woods, who was a sideline eye for Channel 10 now, back then, he came in and said, mate, you've just been cited on 6 different occasions, and Graham Lowe, who was the Queensland coach, wants you put in jail. I said, fuck what? I said, what?
Jail.
I got man of the match, man. That's a long way. And then, anyway, I went to the judiciary. I said, look, I got given a green light by the New South Wales hierarchy.
Yeah.
They said, who? I said, come on. That's like asking someone in jail to snitch on one of their cellmates, you know?
Yeah.
I'll cop it if I tell it. And I'll never... Anyway, so I got 6 weeks suspension for... I think the hit on Paul Hoff that went awry. And then never played Origin again. That was it.
So that was the last Origin?
That was the last Origin. I only played 3 Origins.
What a way to go out.
Well, it's all about the substance in the end. Then
So can you just walk us through the moment when your heads were like, you were in each other's faces? Do you remember what you were thinking in that moment?
We're just swearing at each other.
Yeah?
Just F this, F that, you know.
Were you? But what part of you was like, swing, not swing?
Both my fists are clenched, as you can see in the video. But there's something holding me back. Like most people would have just went back. Like most people thought I would have just went bang, bang,
yeah,
bang.
well, that's what people were surprised you didn't.
Because, you know, I thought I would have too.
Yeah.
And 25 years this year ago, that happened.
Oh, really?
There's not a day that goes past in some way, shape or form, that someone doesn't say, "Oh, why didn't you hit Wally Lewis?"
What do you reckon it was? Just respect, or
I think it was total respect, a little bit of self-doubt.
Oh, okay.
You know that maybe
because he had so much front, because he was so ready.
I didn't think it was, I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, okay.
I was ready for one of their forwards to come at me and start trading blows, but not their 5'8" and 32-year-old captain who's on his way out.
Yeah.
Funny anecdote to this story is that at the time Wally was captain coach of the Gold Coast Titans.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Well, they weren't Titans back then. They were some other incarnation.
Gold Coast Crushers.
Something like that.
Yep.
Chargers.
Yeah, probably.
One of them. And we were... my first game back from suspension was against Gold Coast. And Wally didn't play that game.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting in at Tweed Heads Leagues Club after the game. And I'm still haven't settled the old score, you know. We kind of left it on the field there, and then I got ruled out of the third game, and we lost the series. And I think I could have helped them, New South Wales, that is, win the series.
Oh,
and maybe instead of giving Wally the send off that he deserved, maybe be the fly in the ointment,
be the villain,
which I already was anyway. So I wanted to go to Queensland and cop it.
That would have been crazy.
Oh, it would have been
Imagine
crazy.
that.
I know.
Imagine.
I
Oh
know.
my god.
I know. I don't think I can now. I think
that would have been
going past the Caxton. That would have been total eyes on me.
That would have been mayhem. That would have been one of the. That would have been probably one of the big. Like that would have been the
that
biggest.
week up, the big build up.
Oh,
I remember it. I was at the Tweedhead Leagues Club, and I wanted to see him just to say, you know, just look in his eye. And so anyway, I'm standing there, and all their players have walked in, and our players have walked in. I'm standing there at the bar, just brewing over, you know, what am I going to say when I see him? And then I got a tap on the back of the shoulder, and I looked around, and it was Wally with a jug of beer and 2 glasses.
Oh, what a legend!
He said, "Come and have a beer, big boy," and that was it.
That's old school.
That is
so old school and good,
mate. We from that day on, we've been. He's helped me with my charity work, and I've helped him with his charity work. And
that's crazy. That's so cool.
He's become a good mate. We do a lot of promotions together, and I've got to thank him for everything, basically, because that kind of put me on the map as far as people know. Who's this crazy guy?
Yeah.
Even though I didn't play Origin again, I was still known as that bloke who
you'll always be remembered.
Confronted Wally Lewis, the king of the game, and I say to people that if in 50 and 100 years' time, when they mention Wally Lewis, not far behind him, they'll mention my name.
That's crazy.
And while we had different career paths, it's a pretty cool thing.
Mate, it's amazing. I mean, it's just such that whole story is just one of those historical stories that'll be told for in Origin for ages. I mean, as long as it goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mate, what an awesome story. What an awesome story. Well, I know you got to go, but thank you so much for coming on.
Absolute pleasure, buddy.
And just for the people that are watching, I asked, what was it, a few months ago on Twitter, we'd never met before, I asked you to come on the show. You came on the show. That's a credit to you, so thank you so much for that. And, I'd say good luck, but you don't really need it with the grill team.
Oh,
You're killing it.
Luck.
You're killing it, so thanks for coming on.
Mate, it's always a pleasure. And look, it's, for you to be doing what you're doing off your own bat, it's I encourage any ex-players that you call upon to give you a hand, because that's what we do as a brotherhood. We help each other out in situations, and of course I've known you as a player. We've never met, but mate, if you've gone to the effort, it's the least I can do, and I hope everyone enjoys the interview we've had today, and good luck with future endeavours.
Thanks, man. Thank you.